Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining. Really appreciate it. Today, we're going to do a little story time. Quick story to tell you about how I got started in yoga. It's one of the topics I haven't delved to on the channel yet, but I'm going to be doing a lot more with my yoga background and providing you some great yoga tutorials and some videos. There are some videos down below. If you look and scroll through, I've done several videos on stretches and the benefits of yoga. A lot of people, when they look at me and they see my size, my height, and my musculature, they're always amazed that I teach yoga and I'm heavily involved in the practice of yoga. And usually the question arises, how did you get started in yoga and what makes you get started with the practice? So a little bit of background. I always liked and enjoyed stretching. You know, I was a track runner in junior high, high school, and in college. So I was a runner in my early years. And so stretching, I've always liked doing the hurdler stretch and various stretches for the back and everything. So the stretching part was never an issue for me. As I started to get a little bit older, I started playing more basketball. And basketball comes with a lot of issues because you have your back. There's a lot of impact, the jumping and landing, knees, neck. There's so many issues that come with basketball in terms of just wear and tear on the body. So I was playing basketball in one of the intramural leagues after I got out of school, and I had done something to my lower back, injured it really bad. And I was in the gym stretching it out. So I'm in the gym, I'm stretching my back out, stretching it and trying to do what I knew to try and relieve the pain, because when you're young, I didn't think about going to the doctor or anything. I was just like, okay, this will go away. I'll wake up next week and it'll be gone, kind of thing. And I remember a yoga instructor by the name of Laura Monroe came up to me in the gym and said, hey, I see you're stretching. I'm teaching a yoga class back here in the gym. And, you know, I knew what yoga was. I think I maybe done a couple of the poses or something, but, you know, I never practiced it or anything. So I was a little reluctant because I went and I looked through the glass pane. They had a glass there and you could look through and see the students, and it was a mix of students, but the majority were senior, I think, at the time. I mean, they were up there in age. Well, I was in my 20s, so everybody was a senior to me at that age. When you're that young, everybody's old. And I remember looking in, and I reluctantly went in. And, you know, I put the mat on the floor, and she started teaching the class. She did what was called a sun salutation. Have a video on that down below here as well. But we did the sun salutation, the warm up and everything, and then we went into the poses. And what I found interesting was the poses required a lot of balance, strength, focus, awareness, and it really causes you to be introspective in terms of paying attention and connecting to what's going on the inside of your body, your mind, the feelings you have and everything. So it was very therapeutic for me. But I remember on the physical side of it that I couldn't do a lot of the things that these older senior women were doing in the class. So, you know, you got to remember a 20-year-old weightlifter, and I'm in a yoga class and I'm thinking, well, if I lift weights, I know I'm stronger than they are. How come I can't do these poses? How come I'm having a hard time in these poses? And that's when I knew that this was worth looking into. So I ended up going back to the class, taking her class, learning more yoga from her, and just basically got into the practice more. I started going a couple times a week. So if it wasn't for the gym having yoga, I don't know that I would have got into it. I mean, maybe I would have, but I don't know if I would have went to a yoga studio. It happened to be in the gym. That's why I'm a big fan of yoga classes at the gym, because it exposes a whole other, it exposes another audience to it that maybe wouldn't have had the exposure. So I'm a big fan of yoga classes in a gym environment. So if you ever have access to yoga at your gym, you need to go take it. You need to go take it. Never mind what you think it's all about. Just get in there and take it. It's going to be really good for your recovery from your weightlifting, your strength, your balance, all that good stuff, your breathing. It's a panacea of benefits. So fast forward, I think Laura ended up leaving the gym at some point and started teaching in a yoga studio. And I believe shortly after that, she ended up opening her own yoga studio. And I think it was the first yoga studio in our area. It was like the first yoga studio in the whole area of southeastern Connecticut. It was the first one. And I can't recall the name of it right now. But so I started taking classes with other teachers that were coming into the gym, and they were teaching class. So I jump in there and take classes. Some of them were good, some of them were not so good. And I was in a class one day, and we're talking 2-3 years into this. And I'm in a class one day, and we're all sitting in the class. There's about 20 people in this class. And we're sitting there waiting. I think the class was maybe a 5 o'clock class, and it's like 5:15 and there's no teacher. So somebody comes down from the front desk and they say, hey, the teacher's not coming. She had a car accident. So I said, okay, well, I'll just roll up my mat and I'll go lift some weights. Somebody in the back of the room said, hey, Jeremy, why don't you teach the class? And I looked at him and I was like, really? You want me to teach the class? I said, I don't know how to teach this stuff. And they said, well, you're good at doing it. Give it a shot. We don't want to go home. Just maybe teach us for a little while. And got up there, put my mat out in the front, and taught my first yoga class. That was the first one I taught. And at that point, I had never even thought or dreamed of teaching it. So that's a really good lesson there learned too, is you never know what you're going to end up doing. You just never know what path you'll be on. So I did teach the class, and it came natural. Loved doing it. Loved helping people. Shortly after that, went to a certification with Lex Gillen at Texas Yoga Institute. It was like a week. I think it was a 2-week or 10-day certification process. We were out there at a retreat center and got certified and teach yoga, and had a really good time doing that. And over the years, developed my own style and my own flow for how I like to teach and the audience that's in the class. So I like to make the class accessible for everyone. And that's one thing Laura was really good at doing, was she was really good at making the class accessible for everyone. So I've always kind of modeled my class after that type of format, making sure that everybody can have access to what I'm doing. And so that's basically how I got started in teaching yoga. I think that was early 90s. I don't remember the exact year, but I want to say maybe around 1995, 1996, somewhere around in there. And maybe 97. And so it is 2018 now, so it's quite a while. So I've been teaching for several years, well over 15 years I've been teaching. Classes are always well received because I have a background in other things, and I teach it more from a standpoint of building you up so you're stronger, and helping you realize your full potential. So that's basically how I got started. And I was grateful enough that the first yoga certification I had, I was able to go to that and do that certification. It was a great process. I learned a lot through that certification process, and it's been a great journey. It's been really awesome to be able to teach yoga and to be able to help people reach their full potential. But I guess the big lesson here for me, or the moral of this story, is you never know what path you're going to end up being on, because I didn't set out to become a yoga instructor or a yoga teacher. It was something that was kind of, just brought to me and put in front of me. And prior to subbing that class, I had never even thought of teaching it, not even once. And then when I taught it, I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. I like this. So never say what you won't do, or what's not good for you, or what you're not going to try, because you really just don't know unless you do it. There's no other way to know. So that's the story of how I got started with teaching yoga. Hope it was informative. Hope you enjoyed the story as much as I enjoyed telling it. Namaste. Have a nice day.